Good evening, YouTubers. T-Square here with T-Square Talk. So, today we're going to make up some lobster tails. We're going to cook them up in the oven. It's going to be a delicious recipe. I'm a little pressed for time. I got probably about 40 minutes to think of something good for myself and a dinner guest. So we're going to do up some lobster tails. I'm going to think of a couple quick sides, and I wanted to show you guys my process that I like to do. This is super easy. It sounds a little intimidating when people say lobster tails. All you got to do, preheat your oven, get it set to 400, start preheating it right off, and then I'm going to show you what we do with these tails. Now, these tails are tails that I processed myself. I will leave the link in the bottom about how I processed them. By freezing them. I basically chop off the tail while they're live, clean it off, and freeze them. I pulled them out of the freezer yesterday, and now I'm going to cook them up today. So let's get started. Okay, so to do this, all we're going to do, we're going to take our scissors, and we're going to end up cutting right down the seam. And you can see you're just going to stick it in there. You want to stick it above the meat, and you're going to cut right up the seam just like this. Don't want to go all the way to the back. Then you're just going to end up splitting it open a little, like this. You're going to separate a little bit. You'll feel it kind of break a little bit. Then you're going to stick your thumb under here, and you're going to separate the meat from the shell. And it's going to look just like so. Now also, you want to end up, once you get it set right, so it's going to sit just like that. Now, when I did process these, I ended up trying to separate out the vein ahead of time. You can see right there, the vein's still in there. I ended up, because I filled it with water, hosed them out. That's all in another video. You do want to pull out the vein if you can, and then wash this off. And then it's going to sit like this on the pan. I will show you once I get all 5 of them ready to go. Once you get them all opened up, I put a little bit of spices on them. I'll show you what I like to use. I have some regular ground pepper, some pink Himalayan salt, some garlic powder, and a little bit of cayenne pepper. Now, I know my garlic pepper and my pink salt are actually in the wrong bottles. That is only because I refill my own bottles, and I reuse the shakers because I really like these glass ground up shakers. But it's cheaper for me to buy it in bulk and just refill it. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and throw these lobsters in the oven and figure out what I'm going to do for a side. Okay, for a real quick and easy side to make, I'm going to take a pan. I'm going to wrap it in aluminum foil. I'm going to wash some asparagus, and I'm going to wrap it in bacon. And I will show you that here in 1 second. This is really simple to do. Super easy. All you're going to do is just rinse off your asparagus, put them in small bundles, wrap them in bacon, and put them on the pan. You're also going to cook that at 400, so you can just slide them in right behind the lobsters. The bacon's going to take a little longer to cook, so you're going to want to try to get that in as early as you can. I did the lobsters first just because, but the bacon actually should be the first thing to go in because it's going to be the longest to cook. So let's get that in there, though, and get started. And this is what they're going to look like when they're done. Now, I do alternate my bacon, putting the bacon on one side and keep alternating back and forth. Reason I do that is just so I can get a little bit of a better heat distribution going around there. I'm also going to hit it a little bit with some garlic powder, only because I don't have any fresh garlic on hand. And I'm going to put a little bit of pepper over them, and I'm going to put them right in there with the lobsters. Now, on the lobsters, I didn't put butter on the lobsters, so if you're wondering why I didn't put the butter on, I will actually put the butter on probably about 5 minutes into it, maybe 10 minutes into it, only because the butter's going to melt really fast, and it's all going to be off the lobster in the end. So I'm going to get these in, and then we'll move on to the next thing. Now, I did put the butter on these ones only because it's going to melt in there, and the pan's pretty well full, so it's just going to be in there. Between the butter and the grease, it's going to give the asparagus a nice flavor as it cooks. Now I do have 1 pack of beef tenderloin. They were on sale, so I ended up getting them. It basically has 2 beef steaks in there, bacon wrapped. I had them frozen after I bought them, and then I just thawed them out. I'm about ready to, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pan sear them, and then I'm going to wrap them in foil and throw them in the oven. So I will show you that process real quick too. Now, just before you pan sear them, go ahead and salt and pepper them really good, and then you're just going to pan sear them for a quick, like minute on each side. All that's going to do is give it an extra layer of flavor. Now we're just going to get them seared. Like I said, we're going to put them down. We're going to leave them on there about a minute, minute and a half on each side. Let them get a little bit of flavor to them, and then we're going to flip them, and then we're going to wrap them in tin foil and put them in the oven at 400 also. And there you have a nice little sear, just to give it some extra flavor. I'm just going to end up rinsing out my pan, wash out my pan, my cast iron pan. I'm going to wrap these in aluminum foil. I'm going to put a little bit of wine in there just to add to the tenderness and the flavor. And then I'm actually going to wrap them. If you have another pan, you can go ahead and put them on that. I'm just going to rinse out my cast iron pan, wrap them in aluminum foil, and put them back in the pan. So I'll show you that in a second. And there you have it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw this in the oven. And the only reason I'm putting it here is I don't have another cookie sheet that's available, so I'm just going to end up putting it on here, and this will be fine. Now, one thing I may not have said, this was some leftover. I didn't have enough to get in the pan as I was cleaning up, trying to rush to get it in the oven. I decided to make up the leftovers that I had here on standby. If you didn't have enough, if you have white tips at the ends of your asparagus, go ahead and cut them off. A white end is going to look like this. Let's see if we can focus in. It doesn't really look appetizing. It kind of takes away. They're usually harder. They're drier. I like small asparagus too. It's easier. It's more tender. So that's the kind I buy if I can catch it on sale. But with that being said, I'm going to check on see how everything's looking in the oven. Okay, I just pulled the lobsters out real quick. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw some butter on top of each one, and then I'm going to put them back in there for probably about a minute and go from there. Maybe about 3 minutes. I just want the butter to melt. Now I also sprinkled a little bit more garlic powder on there. I'm going to put that back in and let them sit in there for a little bit, about another couple minutes. Look at them. So I just pulled them out of the oven. Now unfortunately, I'm going to put these in the microwave just to let sit to keep warm for probably about 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes. That way my bacon can get fully cooked around the asparagus. And I want these to stay warm, but I didn't want to leave them in the oven because you don't want to overcook them. You'll know it's cooked if the meat is like a white, flaky, nice cooked meat. So I'm going to put these up and check on the bacon. Okay, now the bacon is fully cooked, but now we're still going to be waiting on the steaks for a little bit. I'm going to end up pulling these off. I'm going to put the extra ones that I had, I'm actually going to throw them on here. That way they'll be cooked up for tomorrow or for whenever I decide to eat them later. And there you have it, the finished product in no time at all. I mean, it looks crazy, I'm sure, if you're looking at it and you're like, what? No time at all? Now, I mean, we did end up pausing the camera and stuff. The longest thing that took was the bacon, to cook up the bacon, just because you want to make sure the bacon is not raw. But tell me that does not look pretty incredible. So with that being said, I thank you guys for watching and hope to see you guys again on T-Square Talk. And I hope you guys try this out. At least try one of these 3 things out. The asparagus is a super easy side to make. The lobster is just to die for. And the steak, there's really not anything to it. So, I mean, any of them you could try out. The steak, probably the hardest thing about finding these steaks. These are beef tenderloins. They're already wrapped in bacon. You could do your own, but it was a good deal, so I just bought them. But I hope to see you guys again on T-Square Talk. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you hit the like, the subscribe button. We are trying to grow our channel. And leave me a comment. Most importantly, I love to see what you guys have to say. And if you try it out, definitely let me know. Thanks a lot, guys. Hope to see you guys again.